So Sean, what were you doing at Breeze? Alright, if you want the honest truth, I was hiding from you. But you'll be pleased to know something. What is it? Wait a minute. Did you get my money back? I most certainly did. Why do you think I'm wearing this hat? So you're telling me you sold your fedora, and that's why you're wearing one of my hats? Yep, yeah, absolutely right. Okay. But can I have that hat back? No! Get your own! Woo, man! Oh. Oh. Hello one, hello all, it's the gothiest ghost of them all, Casper in the flesh, and it's time for a review of Vince Staples' Dark Times. Vince Staples is a California rapper, singer, songwriter, and this is the latest album in his catalog. He's been at it for almost a decade now, with a handful of mixtapes, EPs, full lengths, and truth be told, I found his EPs more enjoyable than his actual full lengths, especially FM, which was presented in this radio broadcast way, produced by Kenny Beats, presented with a lot of variation that really did give you the feeling to listening to a channel on the radio. And with that being mostly fire from front to back, I was really looking forward to anything else Vince had coming down the pipe. And sure, there are albums that differentiate from others, but I always felt vocally, focus-wise, conceptually, he would always fall short. But the closest I had to enjoying a full length from Vince was actually his self-titled album, which I thought was beautifully produced, introspective lyrics, great flows, which I do wish was better received by his fans. And unfortunately for this one, which I think is his best yet, I don't really see anyone in his fan base talking about this, giving it its praises that it deserves. Because truly and honestly, this is his greatest work. Point blank. Period. Admittedly, he's not as animated here, but due to how dark and dreary and forlorn the topics are here and how grim they are, it wouldn't really make too much sense to have him just jump off the page at you. Especially with the focus being nihilism, black trauma, depression. It would just be an odd fit to have just the zany, out-of-control verses from Vince. And also I love how conceptually focused this album is. From the instrumentals, to the cadence, the flow, the lyrics, like on the opener, Black and Blue, that has these syncopated keys over these heavy drums, soulful vocal samples with these ascending keys, and as dismal as Vince sounds here, he definitely carries a lot of charisma here as he spits about impoverished upbringing, tragic losses in the culture, even the current state now, reflecting on times of struggle, and even bringing immensely mournful and touching sentiments of artists and friends who have been taken tragically due to violence, and keeping them alive through his music. They live on through the memory of the music that either Vince is making or that they made. So yes, the intro here is definitely a powerful one, and I feel the hypnotic church chords really do add to the very dramatic, grief-stricken tone that this album carries. There's also Government Cheese, with its immensely clever display of lyricism from Vince, with highly social conscious and personal bars, with an eerie piano line over a heavy beat, with these wailing synths that sound very West Coast. The whole thing feels so chunky and grimy, and the track feels so cold and so pessimistic, as Vince references to the title in a very witty and clever way, as he is reminding those who are done wrong by the system, whether being in poverty or being incarcerated, to smile. And of course, doing a title flip here, doing a turn of phrase to Government Cheese, of government capitalizing off of their harsh reality. Also, he does reference to himself of being under a lot of stress, paranoia, while seeing those around him suffer, and him prospering while also supporting those around him under these devastating conditions. And Children's Song is a moment of very sharp, clever, humorous lyricism here. I would say that Vince does bring some cheekiness to the table, but still keeps it appropriate in the tone of the album with a very humorous refrain. And a lot of hooks here are memorable, but I don't know, this just kind of sticks with me. Like, it really lives rent-free in my head on how instantaneous it is. And I love the acoustic chords with the snappy rhythms, which I feel complement the momentum of Vince's triplet flows. And I love the reverberated, watery delays in the instrumentation, as Vince is just in a mood here and laying down a disclaimer that he does not want to be bothered and he does not want to be tested. Saying the rules, saying no calling after 8. He may be in bed or with someone. Even though he's like laying down a threat, I think it definitely does come off a little lighthearted, even while fitting a very dismal theme of this album. And Shame on the Devil, which is my least favorite track here, I do admit Vince does stay focused in terms of the concept of this album, in terms of dismal disparity, and does bring some quotables here. And there is a line that does correlate to the outro in a clever way. I just think sonically, unfortunately, nothing really pops out to me here, even if it is low-key. But if you're looking for bangers, I would say you wouldn't be disappointed, because I would say Etoufee really does hit the mark for that and scratch that banger itch you're probably looking for, which has these dreamy chords and then goes into this explosive Nolia beat. And in terms of lyricism, in terms of concept, he is focusing on him and those around him making a living, staying on the grind for income, along with cycles of violence and the horrific, haunting aftermath of that. And through each verse, he is striving through paranoia and striving and encouraging those to persevere while simultaneously surviving under systemic racism, or those around him falling victim to fatal situations. And I really did feel like the beat switch does play into the breakaway nature this track presents, while showing a sonic homage to the lyrical nods to the New Orleans rap scene. And while the song Justin is a short one, I feel Vince does manage to tell a very vivid, building, intriguing story that's packed with a lot of detail and just left me hanging on every word, correlating to more themes of paranoia, mistrust, with a clever ending that I'm not going to give away. There's also radio, where Vince reflects on listening to the radio and his favorite artists as a child, and his taste changing through time, and even situations of heartbreak and circumstance where he would listen to that music that actually inspired him to be the person and artist we hear today. And also a clever response to the here and now. It pretty much serves to me as kind of an origin story for Vince. And I love the sonic samples in reference to radio, which I feel is very cleverly done. And Nothing Really Matters, I found to be a pretty underwhelming cut. It didn't really have much of a strong finish here, and I don't think contrasts well to most of the low-key cuts here. Although I do think things do pick up when it comes to Little Homies, with these dreamy keys, buzzing synths, and glowing chords over this vibrant beat, as the track does contrast the dreary nature of this album with positivity and optimistic mentality, which is definitely a uplift due to the mental anguish that this album presents, and giving words of encouragement to the young ones, and also relating to them as well, of having a similar upbringing and sharing survival tactics, and also to those around the same age as him. Also, I love the synthy breakdown, and I love how smooth and charismatic Vince's flow is on here, and really complements the progressive, energetic nature to the track, and that leads to a very heavenly, uplifting outro. But I do think Freeman is definitely too low-key to be the final song on the album, but I do dig how the closer does correlate to that line on Shame on the Devil, and I feel does wrap up the album's theme in a good way. I just wish the last track was a little more compelling. But yeah, I think this is Vince's best full-length project, period, and definitely gonna make my year-end list for sure. With great heady bars, great production. I feel Vince's flow complements a lot of tracks here, and definitely a lot of thematic focus. Vince really did put a lot into this album, and I feel it led to a great one, even if I felt the ending could have been stronger. I'm feeling a 4 out of 5 black hearts on this album, but if you've given this a listen, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? And that's it. Caspa, Gothic Ghost, Vince Staples, Dark Times. Till we meet again.